Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Dude, what the heck is going on? How are you?
I am doing pretty well. I don't know. I mean, hopefully people are listening to our episodes and it's actually helping them. That would be nice, right? But regardless,
hey, it helps me.
I want to say that they're helping me.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, we've talked about some things about food in the past recent weeks here, and I got to say, I mean, I am down 33 pounds from the beginning of January. I am feeling better.
Good for you.
I am sleeping better. Everything's good, and I'm really getting into exercising now. So it's headed in the right direction.
Congratulations. We'll call you Slim.
Yeah, well, I'm not there yet. But, as soon as you can see me on YouTube, it'll be you'll see that. But maybe then you'll get to see the progression.
Okay,
after that, so.
Gotcha. Well, I think about exercise.
Yeah, I do too, and but now I'm actually doing it. There's a big difference.
Okay, all right.
To make that leap.
Well, I would have been just fine to do taking my morning walk through the neighborhood today, but got a phone call from the installers, and my brand new air conditioner is coming in today.
Well, that is super important, especially if you're going to ride that Peloton in your house in the summer.
Well, fair enough. So yeah, they came early, and it was kind of like, so I had to get up earlier than I really would have liked to. But hey, that's all right.
So what do we want to talk about today?
Well, I had a few things, and I ran across one. Had some interesting conversations with some friends here recently, and it brought me back to an article I ran across, and it was basically focusing on, do you know what mental abuse is?
Now, I think I do.
Okay.
But I also have a feeling that maybe I don't.
Well,
maybe it's more that maybe it covers more things than what I think it does.
Well, fair enough. And that's kind of why I like this article. And the lady who wrote it, now she's one of these people that she writes, I would guess that you would call this a blog. But it's from a website called verywellmind.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a pretty interesting organization. They have a lot of award-winning resources that they use that they by their own how shall we say, by their own words, they're an award-winning, trusted, and compassionate online resource that provides guidance to help you improve your mental health and find balance. And the lady that wrote this particular article, her name is Sanjana Gupta, and she's from New York University, has a master's degree, but she writes a lot on mental health, physical health kind of stuff. And so she was talking about what is mental abuse, because I think a lot of times you think of mental abuse is, I don't know, maybe something hardcore and serious.
Yes.
And when I think of mental abuse, I think of like waterboarding, torture, deprivation, stuff like what you see in the movies that the CIA does to captured people.
So it includes both mental and physical.
Well, I don't know if it includes physical, but
I mean, waterboarding would be a physical abuse as well.
Okay, fair point. So maybe that wasn't a good example. But when she's talking about it, it hit home because this is something that's very near and dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Having been kind of a victim of, I guess we can argue that it was mental abuse. But she also calls it, psychological abuse or emotional abuse. And it usually happens in a relationship dynamic.
Right.
Okay, so it could be boyfriend-girlfriend, it could be husband-wife, it could be parent-child.
So basically, this would be an action that one person takes that causes something negative in the mind of the other person.
Yeah.
And causes them to act in a different way, maybe.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
mean it's things that you say, it's things that you do.
Okay.
Because it's both verbal and nonverbal. And I've done a decent amount of research on it, especially in regards to its influence on divorce and being well versed on the issues of divorce. This one kind of rang true because I've seen it transfer onto, like I say, all types of relationships. And so some of the examples that she provided include bullying, intimidation, harassment, ridicule, humiliation, coercion, gaslighting, which we did. We did. And I mean, this even includes attempts to isolate you from your friends and family, verbal displays of anger, like yelling and swearing. Well, it's always your fault. And using all kinds of inappropriate cuss words that the FCC would not be happy if I used.
I don't think they apply on this one.
Oh, well, we won't test that theory.
We just don't want to have to change our maturity.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll keep it at just G-rated. But I thought, we talk, as a teacher, we go through a lot of training on how to recognize these kinds of behaviors between kids.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's the relationships. Kids are dating each other, and you get this controlling boyfriend, this controlling girlfriend. And how do you, as a parent, how do you recognize this going on? But I thought if we could recognize it, maybe we could recognize it in our own lives or that of our children.
So we all have this idea of bullying, right? Like we think we know what bullying is.
Yeah.
But bullying involves having some kind of power over somebody, right? It's not just being mean to somebody. It's an intentional, like, trying to have a power over a person or a group of people, right? So, it's more than just being mean. I've seen things in the past, like people, like students, withholding somebody else's phone, like they take their phone and they won't give it back. I think that could be classified as bullying. It could also be something greater if they're boyfriend and girlfriend and they're taking the phones to look at them, to see what they're doing, to punish them for something. That's definitely a mental abuse kind of a situation, right? I mean, is that as an example? Is that something that?
Yes, that is absolutely correct, because that ties in. With the bullying, you got the intimidation.
Yeah.
You have, I'm just teasing. Well, okay, it may have come across as teasing to you, but to me it was received as, you embarrassed me. You humiliated me. You ridiculed. You always do that. I hate that you always make me do this. I know that going through the divorce, or even in the marriage, before the divorce even started, the ex-wife, she was attempting to keep me from friends. Didn't want me to, would manipulate so that I wouldn't go see family.
Yeah.
We would set stuff up, and then last minute she would, I can't go. Will you just go without me? And it's kind of like, well, no, we go. We're a family. We go as a team. And if you can't go, well, then I won't go either. And
I've seen that before in families as well. I mean, with kind of withholding being able to go see relatives and friends. So.
Oh yeah, and I mean there's a lot of things that when you have the opportunity to look backwards, you go, ooh, that was a red flag. How did I miss it?
Right.
Because a lot of times love makes us blind to things that we would normally pick up on, see, and respond to. And sometimes these kinds of mental abuse issues show up after you're already emotionally invested.
Right.
A lot of these things, a lot of the mental abuse features, because the ex-wife, she engaged in a fair number of these, were more visible a couple years into the marriage. And it wasn't until it got to be a boiling point that, leads to the divorce, that it became an issue that I began to go, ooh, I really don't like all this.
Right.
And which then leads to, because she broke this up into two defining factors. One she called intimate partner abuse, which in the mental health world they call it IPV, or intimate partner violence.
Okay.
And this is constantly badgering. She gave some really good examples of how one partner can try to control or mentally abuse their partner. And I could always, what are you doing? Where are you going? Well, who are you with? Want to know exactly where they are 24/7. Eric's mom did this all the time to me.
Mm-hmm.
This was well before those days of track my phone.
Right.
But she always wanted to know, well, who are you talking to? Who are you on the phone with?
And I think that's probably pretty common in a lot of relationships, maybe more common than we might think. As I've mentioned before, I've been married we're our 31st year of marriage. And so, I look at this list and if I think back to the early part of my marriage, would I have been exhibiting some of these? Maybe. I might have been jealous. It's possible that, accusing of being unfaithful, it just depends on what's coming around, early on in a marriage. I think that we might be more susceptible to these things. And that's just my assessment based on my lengthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But because it seems to me that most of these things from the person who's actually committing these acts, right, is there's a trust issue, and there's a confidence, maybe even a confidence issue, or some kind of an issue where they're just not sure of their place in the relationship and whether the other person is at the same place or something. There's some kind of issue, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what the psychological terms would be.
Well,
that's kind of your department.
Okay, fair enough.
Looking at these, wanting to know where they are at all times. I mean, I've been married. We're in our 31st year of marriage. I don't have to know where my wife is all the time. She's a big girl, right? And I know that she's faithful to me, and I know that our relationship is solid. But in the first years of marriage, you don't know that, right? You don't have that confidence that those things are like that. And I think it probably makes so people who are in their early years of marriage, right, you might be seeming to be more susceptible to these, or maybe think some of these questions are reasonable.
Sure.
Right? But they do harm the other person. And it actually, if you're not in a place of trust and confidence, it might actually make it worse.
And that's what I think the author was trying to communicate, that when you engage in these, it's okay to ask, hey, how was your day? Where'd you go? Who'd you talk to? Anything fun or exciting happen? I mean, Sherry and I, well, mostly me, I'll ask her, trying to be inquisitive, because my parents would do that to me. I watched, my parents do that to each other. Sure. How was your day? Those kinds of things. So you're not mining for minute detail. You're just trying to show interest in that person. I think what they're showing is that you're going to extremes. A lot of times I have found that when you are engaging in these kinds of behaviors, you yourself have mental health problems.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was trying to get to. Right?
Oh, okay.
There's an issue on the part of the person who is asking these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Who is accusing.
Oh, absolutely.
There's an issue with that person, and so if that was me, this is enlightening, and maybe I need to see somebody as a counselor, right? Maybe I need to address my issues.
Well, we can practice. We'll pull up the couch over here.
Okay. I love a good chaise lounge.
Well, one of the, in my work, in my research that I've been doing over the last, 6-7 years, has been focusing a lot on mental health issues, and a lot of these, the mental health, the intimate partner violence or intimate partner abuse that she describes. A lot of times, if you are, identified as narcissistic personality disorder, or maybe bipolar and you're off your meds. If you are borderline personality disorder, histrionics disorder, these mental issues that you have within yourself, well, they contribute then to this, because you are, when you're, okay, Eric's mom was identified unofficially as having borderline personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out through a psych eval we had to do for our divorce. And when I started exploring, well, what does that mean? Well, boom, a lot of these fit. You explore somebody that has narcissistic personality disorder. They are super controlling,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to control every aspect of your life. And so, controlling your finances, monitoring how money is spent. They can spend money like crazy, but you can't. Humiliating. The times that Eric's mom would try to humiliate me in public were fairly common. And so I think you're absolutely right. When you're engaging into these kinds of things, you're not, I don't want to say you're not in your right mind, but in a way you kind of are not.
Right.
And so, in recognizing some of these symptoms, I did not know that Eric's mom had serious mental health disorders. I knew she had some depression. I knew she suffers from some PTSD. And I thought, well, okay, but these activities go way beyond, just being a little depressed or a little insecure. These are signs that if your dating partner, your marriage partner is engaging in something like this, well, they've got a lot bigger issues.
There's definitely some red flags, right?
Very much
some
so.
Things you might want to be concerned about. And it doesn't mean that you can't, be with that person, but there has to be a recognition that help is needed.
Oh, absolutely.
I look through this list, and we have this list in front of us here of wanting to know where you are at all times, or expecting to report your activities, or one of the things I saw, making decisions for you, which is what you mentioned, right? Often without consulting you. I have a hard time now of even making if I'm at the grocery store, making a decision about what I'm going to buy for my wife for a snack. Like, I have to ask her, because I know things she likes, but I don't know what she wants at the moment. But making decisions is a big one, and that's the kind of thing, especially if it involves money, that can drive people to breakups and divorce. And so there needs to be a discussion about those things. There needs to be, if you're in a relationship, that means there's two people at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's two people in that relationship, and you've got to have some kind of consensus about what to do in critical moments, right? And it can't just be one person making all the decisions. This is something I bring up because, my wife has mentioned this to me at different times throughout the marriage, that, like, well, you're just making the decisions. And I'm like, okay, so I shouldn't be doing that. Right?
Sure.
So let me make the decision not to do that. But you can't just completely go the other way and just have the other person make all the decisions either, right?
Well, exactly.
It has to be a give and take in the relationship, a healthy one.
No. And again, that's what the whole idea is. Relationships are, as you put it, it takes work.
Yeah.
It requires effort. And in this case, with intimate partner abuse, it is that you don't want assistance. You don't want help. You want to be the dictator in charge, and you control and manipulate. One of the last ones here that they discuss is the person, threatening to harm themselves, using that as a control feature. And Eric's mother frequently would talk about committing suicide. Well, I'll just kill myself. You'll be better off without me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, whoa. And again, a lot of these things I've learned over time that, wow, okay, red flags. but at the time I did not realize it, because when you're in the middle of it, it's kind of hard to see
Yeah.
beyond what, just basically the end of your fingers. And so it's when you're in that, I think after a while you might start going, this doesn't feel right. And
Yeah.
so they do have, and I want to share this, they do have a domestic violence hotline, and it is 1-800-799-7233. If you feel that you are in, and I like this. I mean, they've done different TV shows where they'll talk about intimate partner violence or intimate partner abuse. And at the end of the episode, they always say, if this relates to
Right.
you or someone you know, call this number. And I really like that. And again, as I read through this, to me, it's kind of like ding, 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 all these flashing red lights going off about my relationship with Eric's mom.
Yeah.
And now, like I say, now I know, and I kind of like to be able to share these kinds of information. Because a lot of times, if it's happening to you, well, a lot of times it gets carried over to the kids.
Mm. And so what about that? What about that child abuse portion that she's talking about?
Okay, so again, like before, she provided a variety of examples. And one of those is tearing down the kid, humiliating the kid, embarrassing the kid for what, well, it wasn't good enough. How dare you not be good enough? You have embarrassed yourself.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, wait a minute, the kid's 7, the kid's 9. Even if the kid is 15, you don't say those kinds of things to a child.
Right.
And so, again, these are examples of mental abuse. And mental abuse of a child is child abuse.
Yes.
Even the APA has come around to the APA, or American Psychological Association, has come around into the idea of, the emotional abuse is child abuse, and depending on how bad it is, it can even be prosecuted.
Yeah.
And which I am so grateful of. Other examples: constant criticizing of the child will goes way beyond having a kid telling the kid how to load the dishwasher. I mean, I guess you should have never told me that, because that's going to.
It was unloaded.
Oh, and okay.
But it really doesn't matter. Right? I was admittedly very wrong in that. But yeah, criticizing constantly, any of us, right? Even as adults, if we have a constant negative attention on us, how are we going to feel? How is it going to make us perform in our jobs or the things that we want to do? Is it going to drive us to want to be better, or is it going to really just drive us to want to go hide and sleep? And teenagers tend to want to hide and sleep anyway. So,
yeah.
Having them hide and sleep and then constantly think about how everybody hates them and thinks that they're useless is not a good thing, right? So positivity obviously is much better. Does that mean you can't correct your child? Absolutely not, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but I think there's a difference between, hey, thank you for running the vacuum sweeper, but I need you to, can we go back and I'll help you, but let's move the furniture out and vacuum in behind the furniture.
Sure.
Hey, thank you for dusting, but let's go ahead and move the doilies or the knickknacks or whatever, and let's dust behind those two. My mom would do that for, growing up.
Right.
Hey, thank you for, I asked you to run the vacuum sweeper. You did a good job, but here's what I need you to do. I need you to go one step further.
That's huge, right? Because even as adults, we like that, right? We have our jobs and we do our jobs and we get our paycheck, and that's our reward, right? We do our jobs. But we still like to hear every once in a while from the boss, right? Hey, I appreciate what you're doing.
Yes.
I like how you did that thing.
But if the boss
over there.
But if that boss or and again, if your parent, your spouse, whatever, they're just, man, you suck.
Right.
Man, can you ever do anything right? Or
only pointing out the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You have to point out positives. And frankly, some of the negatives, like the fact that I didn't like how my daughter unloaded the dishwasher is completely irrelevant.
It matters not to life at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I should just be letting that go.
Well, exactly. And so some other ones that I think, and I see this a lot in the divorce work that I'm engaging, because I do a lot of work with high conflict custody battles.
Yeah.
And so threatening to abandon the child, threatening to hurt the child, failing to provide a safe environment for them to grow up in, failing to provide a safe and stable environment is it's hard to prove. It's hard to prove in court. But when parent is abusing their child this way, this mental abuse, it is so hard to prove. But because a lot of times those scars are on the inside and they take years to manifest. I can see in some of the seniors that I teach, they show some of the consequences of something that would have happened 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Showing neglect of a child, showing no concern, sure, whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
Right.
You want to stay up all night, go ahead. I don't really care. It's not my job to feed you. It's not my job to monitor you. Well, it shows up much, much later. And so these types of child abuse, physical abuse, you can tell. Sexual abuse, you can tell. They leave telltale signs behind that are easier to recognize and prosecute. But when you are engaging in emotional abuse of a child, that is so much harder for a third party to identify, diagnose,
Yes,
and help change the environment.
and like you said before, there's different degrees, right? So somebody could just be depressed about something, or they could appear as though they're fine and actually be suicidal. I mean, it's just really unclear unless you really know that person and have been able to see patterns over time. It's hard to detect that.
Well, and I saw some of this in Eric as we were going through the divorce. And I was trying to share this with the lawyer, and because we wound up, ours got so bad. Not only did I have a lawyer and she have a lawyer, but Eric wound up having his own attorney and trying to share this with the mental health professionals. It's really, really hard because these people don't know you.
Right.
And they don't know your history. And, crying out loud, I was there from the very beginning. I mean, heck, I held Eric before his mother did.
Yeah.
And so I was able, I'm going, these things aren't right. This is a change. This is a negative. Something is going on. Well, the abuser is really good at providing sunshine and daffodils to cover their actions.
Yeah.
You can't do it forever. And ultimately, the abusive behaviors of Eric's mom came out in court, and that's why the jury awarded me full custody.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes so much time, and in the process, what is the damage going on to the child? Because the damage that goes on, we see this at school because they withdraw, they become violent, they do much poorer at school, they don't get involved in anything. They're here, and then whatever. Okay.
So, I mean, as a teenager, right, we know that these are formative years. And so whatever experiences they have in those years is going to shape the way that they proceed in life. And so whether it is they were abused and they become an abuser, or they were abused and so they get in relationships where they have that other really strong person and they continue to get abused, it's going to shape how they are acting and living out their life. And so it's really important that we try to fight this now.
Well, some signs that we can use to help, if we happen to notice friends or family who are being victimized or mentally abused.
Okay.
If you notice that person constantly being extremely agitated or upset, withdrawing, or refusing to communicate or respond when you call them, text, whatever, they just, withdraw. Displaying unusual behaviors that you might associate with other, this mostly is with littler kids, but biting, sucking their thumbs, or it could even be just sucking on the bottom end of a pen, rocking back and forth. These are signs that, if you start seeing, again, kids or family or friends or relatives, these are signs that you can then say, hey, let's start paying a little more attention. Because, the whole thing is finding help, going to see a counselor. A lot of times it helps to record, journal.
Yes.
The book I wrote, For the Love of Eric, a lot of that is my journaling, where I wrote down all these kinds of things that we can do to combat it if it's happening to us. Don't blame yourself. At the end of the day, this person that you are with is doing this to you of their own. It's them. It's not us. And I mean, there's other things, like don't engage your abuser. Leave them. Because they aren't going to change.
Right.
Eric's mother was never going to change. So just leave her, and then you don't have to deal with it anymore. So anyway, like I say, mental health or mental abuse is serious. It's just as damaging as any physical abuse. It's just harder to see the scars. Until next time, my name is Ron McCall.
I'm Scott Nichols.
If you or a loved one are a victim of domestic violence, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for confidential assistance from trained advisors. If you are a victim of child abuse or know someone who might be, call or text the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-4453 to speak with a professional crisis counselor.